Good morning. On behalf of the University of Guanajuato, I welcome you in the framework of the International Forum and Expo of Academic Collaboration to the panel session, International Double Degree Programs, Challenges and Prospects. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, James Aldrich. James Aldrich is Vice Provost International at Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, Ontario. His teams are responsible for international student recruitment, student services, partnership development, study abroad, and the English Language Center. James has worked in the international education sector for 20 years. He was Executive Director, China at Work Education from 2012 to 2016. He has done work with Lakehead University for the past 5 years and for 1 year as Acting Director of International Enrollment and Senior Advisor. Formerly, James was Country Director China for Canadian Education Center Network for 4 years, after going to China in 2006 to represent the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology on student recruitment and partnerships. Prior to that, he taught English in Hyogo, Japan. James is also former chair of the board of directors of the Beijing chapter of the Canada China Business Council. He holds a Bachelor in Science from the University of Alberta and an International Executive MBA from Rogers University. Thank you very much for being here today. James, I'll leave you the floor.
Thank you very much, Virginie. It's great to be here with all of you. Welcome, everyone. It's really great to be here with you to attend this session on the International Double Degree Programs, Challenges and Prospects. Our audience today is professors, colleagues, international administrators from Guanajuato, as well as a number of other institutions from around the world. I'll just repeat, my name is James Aldridge. I'm the Vice Provost International at Lakehead University. Lakehead University is a small to medium-sized university with about 9,000 students. We are located on 2 campuses in Thunder Bay and Orillia, Ontario, Canada. Just briefly, as I introduce my institution, about 10 or 11 years ago, the university undertook a comprehensive plan to internationalize our university. At that time, we had about 100 international students. Today, we have just over 1,500 international students from around 70 countries. COVID has slowed our growth in international, but we're back open and in-person learning right now, and things are going quite well. In addition to the recruitment of international students, we also began programs to well support those students, to encourage more of our students to take international study abroad experiences. And we have begun for a number of years now to explore articulation agreements, pathway transfer agreements, dual degree, double degrees, and the kinds of things that we're going to talk about today in double degrees. So the goals for today's session are to talk about the double degree, to learn from each other about how double degrees differ from other types of joint programs and partnership agreements. And to really talk with our panelists, who are some of the experts that have done a number of these programs. I'm going to introduce our panelists in just a moment. I would like us to share openly about the challenges, the prospects, and the opportunities that we see in this sphere. And if we think about big picture, we're all working towards developing global citizens, building intercultural and cultural intelligence skills in our students, and giving our students the opportunity to experience other institutions internationally, other ways of thinking, other curriculum, and essentially giving our students the ability to work effectively in cross-cultural environments. I know that our panelists will talk more about sort of the broad goals of internationalization through double degrees, and I'll leave that to them. But essentially, that's what I want to work on today, is really talking about double degrees. Before I introduce our panelists, I just want to talk about some definitions. I'm going to be very brief here. I will probably raise more questions than I will answer questions, but just briefly, I want to talk about double degree and some of the definitions. So double degree programs, I mean, it's generally understood that we're talking today about two international partner institutions who are working together to offer students the opportunity to obtain 2 degrees. Okay, double degree programs can also be in one institution, where a student would get 2 degrees from one institution, in that way providing an accelerated pathway for students who would otherwise have to take 2 separate specialist programs and 2 separate degrees. They could take a double degree program within one university. There's lots of examples of this. But today we're talking specifically about international partner institutions working together to offer the opportunity for students to obtain 2 types of degrees. Generally, it's understood that the workload is not greater by doing this route, but it could be the case that sometimes there's more work, and we can dig into that a little bit. I want to contrast the double degree with the term dual degree, just briefly. Dual degree in many countries, in many international education conversations, can mean the same thing as a double degree. Lots of people will use these interchangeably. But for me, when I talk about dual degree, I would mean a degree which is done simultaneously at one university. So a student would be doing a dual degree at one university. But I know that depending on the country and depending on who you're talking to, there are lots of people who use double degree and dual degree interchangeably. Lastly, I want to just talk about a couple other possible confusing terms. One is co-tutelle from the French. This is understood as two PhD supervisors from 2 institutions, allowing one student to complete 2 programs. It could have more than 2 supervisors, I guess, but typically the co-tutelle would be 2 institutions delivering 2 PhD programs for one student that they're co-supervising. And I believe that some of our panelists can touch on that as well. Lastly, we have the credit transfer or transfer pathway. Our institution, Lakehead University, does a lot of this, where we partner with universities in India, in China, in Malaysia, in Latin America as well, to have students begin their degree in their home country, and after 1 or 2 years, transfer that credit to come to Canada to study at our university. This I would not call a double degree, because when the students finish this program, they're not graduating with 2 credentials. They're finishing with just 1 degree from Lakehead University. So if we compare and contrast the sort of the double degree with a few of these other things like dual degree and credit transfer, I think you'll see the difference, I hope. So without further ado, I want to introduce our 2 panelists today. Unfortunately, our 3rd panelist, Mr. Mario Alberto Ibarra Manzano, is unable to join us today. He's not well, but I'm thrilled to be joined by 2 panelists who have experience in this field. First, I want to introduce Mr. Fethi Bedoui. He's from Chimie Paris Tech in France. And next, Mr. Ramon Antonio Zaraga Nunez. He's the chair of chemistry and working on some international collaborations at the University of Guanajuato in Mexico. So welcome to you both. And I will allow Ramon later to introduce himself and talk more. But first, over to you, Fethi, please.
Thank you, James, for this introduction and for providing this valuable definition of the double degree that we need to agree about it. And I fully agree what we are talking about. I would like now to share a short presentation that will help you to know us a little bit more, because I believe that when a student has to start a double degree, he has to know exactly where he will be or she will be doing her training and her or his formation. And the first most important thing is to know the host institution perfectly well, in order to be sure that the degree, that the stay, that the 1 or 2 years that she or he will spend in the foreign institution will be successful. So the most important thing is to be well informed. That's why I'm trying now to introduce my institution as a case, as an example of presentation, of kind of presentation that we should provide to each single student who will be applying for such a program, and also to our partners in order to know each other better than through the websites, etc. So I'm sharing now this presentation. I hope that you are seeing the slides. First, I would like to talk about Chimie ParisTech PSL. Chimie ParisTech is a graduate school in engineering with the specialty in chemistry. So we are training top-level professionals in chemistry. When I say engineering in chemistry, it doesn't mean that we are training our students only in chemical engineering. It's about chemistry, all kinds of chemistry. And what we are willing to do is to have engineers formed to work quasi immediately in companies. That's why our programs are tightly linked with companies, and the relation that we have with large number of companies is extremely important to build our programs. So some figures in order to, how can I go from one slide to other one? Yes. So Chimie ParisTech belongs to a world-class university. I'm putting here some ranking because sometimes we have to talk about that. It's only to tell you that we are part of one of the best universities in France now, which is in the top 50, top 5, top 100, according to the worldwide ranking that you can find in different systems. I'm putting this because our institution is a very small one, but we belong to a large university, which is really a world-class one. So Chimie ParisTech was founded by Charles Friedel. People who are doing chemistry know perfectly well who is Charles Friedel, the guy who discovered the reaction, called Friedel and Kraft, and he was the founder of our school. He was the founder of our school in order to develop and to train engineers having very high level in chemistry, as high and as performant than the one required for researchers in the academic field. So the basic formation, the basic related to chemistry has to be extremely strong. And later on, Henri Moissan was the first Nobel Prize in chemistry, leaded the school. And one of our former students, Eugène Schuller, is the creator of the company L'Oréal. And this is to show you that at the very beginning, as soon as we started our experience with Chimie ParisTech, we aimed at forming engineering, having the high level experience and fundamentals in chemistry, and also having the approach to develop company, to create what at that moment was not called startups, but to create company. And the relation between the formation, the research, the development, and the creation and the management of company is something that was really in the center of the DNA of our school. Our students are highly selected, and I will show you how it works in France for that. And also, there is something that I have to focus in, that we have in total 350 students. That's why I was saying that we are very small, but within a large university. So 350 students for 140 researchers and professors. This means that the ratio between professor and students is very low. We have one professor almost for 3 students, which is extremely rare in the French system. 20% of our students are international. This means that we are really focusing on the internationalization of our system. And also 20% of the program are based on management and human skills. This means again that the formation has to be good and excellent, not only in chemistry, but also in management and human skills. And in addition to this, we have, through the 3 years of formation, I will explain you later how it works, 1 entire year is devoted to internship. And the internship has to be done within a company. This is again in order to enhance the relation between the formation, the research, and the entrepreneurial and the management. We are a center of research, highly qualified in France, and the CNRS, which is the Center of National Research, is actively involved in our research here at Chimie ParisTech. So we are training top-level professionals in chemistry, not only in chemical engineering. It's related to analytical chemistry, solid state, theoretical, electromolecular, bioinorganic, chemical processing. So it's all about chemistry. And it's all about chemistry for life, for environment, for health. And this formation and these practices are driven by sustainability, eco-conception, recycling, in order to develop technologies for energy, material, microfluidics, for diagnosis, for example, or medicine. So this is how is our vision and philosophy in order to practice what we are doing with our students and our researchers. The next slide is to explain very briefly how it works in France. When we need and when we have to develop co-tutelle or double diploma or any kind of exchange between our students and foreign institutions, we have to explain how it works in France, since the system might be slightly different from what is usually known in other places. So usually the students, when they finish their baccalaureate, when they finish their secondary classes, they enter the university. 95% of them enter the university without any kind of selection. They go through this European program, which is called bachelor degree within 3 years, and then master degree during 2 years, and PhD during 3 years. This is the European system. This is how 95% of the students after their baccalaureate start and perform their university education. When it comes to the graduate engineering schools, and in France we have almost 200 institutions like this, 25 in chemistry, among them Chimie ParisTech, which is the most prestigious one. Only 5% of the students can enter this system, through a first selection. So there is a severe selection in order to have only the top 5% of the students in order to perform this graduate engineering training. They have to go through 2 years of preparatory classes. And after these 2 years of preparatory classes, that has to be done in a different institution. We have institutions that are specifically working on these preparatory classes. They go through competition, and only the top 5% of these 5% will enter Chimie ParisTech. This means that the way of the selection is very aggressive and highly selective. Then our students will spend 3 years with us, year number 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see here, the duration of their training after the baccalaureate to the end of the diplomation here is exactly the same one than the one performed within the classical conventional university system. This means that the degree of engineering that they will obtain from our institution has exactly the same level than the master degree. And then they can perform directly, they can start working on a PhD. And this is how it works in France. And this is how we try now to create the links between universities, foreign universities, who are working through this system in order to have students coming from the university system and feed our engineering system and vice versa. So that's why it's very important to know how it works and how the formation is performed within this engineering school in France. This slide is to show you the example of the double degree programs that we are developing, and we are very active with Latin America, especially with Argentina, Colombia, and Brazil. And I took this example in order to show you that the students coming from the foreign university, they have to finish. They have, in order to be selected and to come to Chimie Parité, they have to finish already 8 semesters at their home university. This is the main criteria. 8 semesters here means that it's the equivalent of 4 years spent in France. So after this 8 semesters here, they can be selected and enter Chimie Parité for 2 years. We have an obligation in order to deliver this degree. The obligation is that the students have to spend at least 3 semesters at Chimie Parité or any kind of engineering graduate school in France. So this means that they will spend 2 years with us, because the other obligation is to spend 1 internship at the end. And this means that they have to spend 2 full years with us and go back to their university in order to finish what they have to finish within one semester, no more than this. They will be validating what they have performed with us. And since it's South America, the programs does not start at the same time. There is a gap of 1 semester usually, and this is the opportunity for them to finish what they have to finish in order to obtain the degree from their home university and the degree from Chimie Parité. This means that simultaneously they will obtain both degrees, and if they don't finish their program here, they will not obtain our degree and vice versa. This is the rule that we are using. And for our students who are willing to go to abroad, they have to finish 4 years with us, and instead of performing the last year at Chimie Parité, they go abroad and they perform 2 more years at the foreign university to obtain the double degree. This is how it works for the French institution dealing with this engineering graduation, and especially for Chimie Parité. So this is a kind of introduction for our institution and also for the French system in order to make it clear, and the specificity of the engineering system in France has to be well understood in order to perform this kind of of collaboration on double degree program. So this is what I wanted to show you today, and I will give the floor to my colleagues for the following presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fethi. I think it's really good for us to hear about your institution and the strategies that you've taken, or at least how the structure of the double degree program works in France. I'd like to move over then to Ramon from Guanajuato and have you introduce yourself and a little bit about your institution and experience on double degree.
Thank you very much, James. I'm very happy to be here with all you colleagues and also students that are watching us. And yes, I'm also from the chemical area, so we are gonna talk about a lot of chemistry today, but I think most of the points are general for all we are gathered here together. And yes, I work as dean in the postgraduate program in chemistry here at University of Guanajuato. We have master and also PhD, both in chemistry. From 2013 to 2015. So in these 2 years, I learned what I know about these double degree programs. But after my time in the postgraduate program, I've been in the chair of this department of chemistry until today. So I've been aware since 2013 of the double degree programs in the field of chemistry here in the University of Guanajuato. And the main experience I had happened back in 2015 when we worked together with the University of Girona in Spain, in Catalonia, to achieve a double degree agreement between 2 master programs. Ours is master in chemistry, and also the master in advanced catalysis and molecular modeling from the University of Girona. I can tell that we started from scratch, and we were able to get the agreement signed by both universities' presidents after around of 10 months. That's what it take. But the most successful experience, for my point of view, of course, for the number of students who had been involved, is the double degree program with the Nagaoka University of Technology, which was signed in 2010, and it's intended for obtaining 2 diplomas, either master or doctorate degrees. That's my experience, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramon. And I have just put the name Nagaoka University of Technology in Japan in the chat, so everyone knows the partner there. So guys, thanks for the introductions to your work. I'm gonna jump into some questions now. I want to sort of guide us through a bit of a discussion. Before we go to questions from the group, I would like us to discuss some of these thoughts here, and ask you both, what led your institutions to develop a double degree in the first place? And sort of bigger picture, what is it that's motivating you and your institutions to do this, and what do you see as the sort of the reasoning behind developing these programs? Shall we start with Fethi?
Yeah, I prepared the slide for that, so maybe I can share it, or I can just talk about it.
We'll have Virginie share the slide, but if you can go ahead with the answer, that's great.
Okay. So why we are developing international double degree? First, in order to challenge our students by bringing international students with them, and to challenge their culture and of obtaining a degree. having lectures with foreign students is very important because they will feel different way of receiving information, and this is very important for them. And also in order to challenge our teaching staff in putting them in front of students who have a different training culture. This is one of the aspects that is pushing us to develop this double degree. It's not having only students that will take some classes and then go back home with that. It's about having a degree, and to my opinion, teaching a student in order at the final step to get a degree is different from having a student that is only there in order to get some classes and credits and that's all. It's very different, and our staff is really thinking the same way that I'm thinking about that. And then the other point is that we have to train graduates with a double scientific culture that has to be recognized. So the term of recognition is very important, and the recognition is provided by the graduation, by the double diploma that they will obtain. Again, it's different, to my opinion and to our opinion, from the fact that the student is there in order to have credits and that's all. It's a kind of involvement from the staff and from the student, it has to be different. And also because it helps us to strengthen the alumni networks by making them more international. And also this will help in having ambassadors for the training in both countries. We need to have ambassadors, and to have ambassadors, they need to show their diploma from us, not only to say that I spent one semester at Chile Paritech or any other institution. And finally, and this is in our case because we are working in close relation with companies, it will allow us to optimize the paving of economic relation between two countries. Having someone graduate from France, coming from Mexico, is something which is someone who is extremely valuable for the company, because it has the local culture. For a company in Mexico, they will have a Mexican guy or a Mexican girl having the Mexican culture, and also the scientific culture from France. And this can be extremely important for French companies which are in Mexico. I can cite, for example, L'Oreal or Peugeot or Citroën. These companies are willing to have Mexicans knowing how to deal with the Mexican rules, the Mexican culture, and also knowing how to deal with the scientific culture and also the French culture. And this will be stamped because they have the diploma. They haven't not only spent the 1 or 2 semesters in France, they really sticks and they really went deep through the formation in France. So this is maybe not answering very totally to the question that you are raising, but this is for us the guidelines that push us in order to develop the double degrees with specific partners that we are working this or that we are prospecting and that we are having now as partners. So this is what I wanted to say about why developing international double degree, and the word double degree is important because, again, according to us, it's extremely different from the fact of having someone staying for 1 semester to get credits, and that's all.
Thank you, Fetty. Really well put, and I appreciate the summary slide as well. That's really great. Over to you, Ramon, and for Guanajuato, what led your institution to develop the double degree?
Yeah, okay. Well, I think Fetty put explained all the reasons. We shared all the main reasons she just explained to us, but I would like to add one more. So yeah, the institution is interested in putting these opportunities for the students, but there is also this, the students are asking for these kinds of opportunities. So we are being pushed by the students. They are eager to go abroad. They are eager to see the world, to see different ways to learn chemistry in our case, but I assume it's also for the other fields. So this is one of the main reasons for my point of view. The students are eager, they are pursuing this kind of opportunities. They are in the best years of their lives, and they are eager to see the world, and these kind of opportunities are great. So that's the main reason that make us to work to get these agreements between universities. James.
Thanks, Ramon. Yeah, it's great. And before we're going to jump into this next question right away. Yeah, let's go ahead. We'll go with that. I'm going to stay with you, Ramon, though, to talk about some of the challenges. And you know, when we were chatting before, I know you talked about challenges you had with the Japan experience. Maybe you've got examples of other challenges you faced, and I can summarize some of the different types of challenges. But what challenge did you face in setting up the double degree program, and maybe how did you overcome those, or what did you learn from them for next time, Ramon?
Yes, thank you. Well, we are still working on overcoming this challenge, but I'm gonna talk about them, and I will explain the two challenges, the main challenge we have now. Then the first is with Nagaoka University, and the other is with the University of Girona. So first, in the case of Nagaoka, even though the double degree program with the Nagaoka University of Technology has been the most demanded in the last few years, there is a situation where it's preventing to capture even more students. The thing is that the students are asked to write two different dissertation works, two theses, and that means to work almost simultaneously in two different projects. We think that this is very discouraging for the students that are considering to get enrolled in this two-degree program. But despite of this, one Japanese student got the two diplomas for master degree, and we are about to, almost 3 Mexicans have achieved the PhD degree in both universities. I said almost because two, they already got the diploma, but one is about to get this in these days. It's gonna happen. About the University of Girona, I must say that after 6 years, we have not yet any student enrolled in the double degree master program with the University of Girona. We have identified two reasons for this situation. First, the field covered by the agreement is only for students interested in computational chemistry. And here in Guanajuato, we have an average of 1 or 2 per semester, so it's not a very demanded field here in Guanajuato, and that is the first reason. But the second reason, which I think is more important, it has to do with financial aspects. Okay, I try to be clear. Within the agreement, the University of Girona offers until 2 scholarships of 2,000 euros per student. And that sounds fine, but there is still another at least 2,000 euros for tuition fees that need to be covered for the student, plus the flight and the living expenses. This is much more than the CONACYT scholarship support they get. So I think those are the challenges we are facing now. James.
Thanks, Ramon. So just quickly to summarize, with the partner in Japan, you had this issue around students having to complete a master's thesis twice, essentially, one with the partner and then one back home. I think it maybe in the future you would consider trying to negotiate with a partner so that students only complete one thesis. Is that right?
Yeah. What we are trying to talk with the Japanese part, they are aware that is a barrier. So
Sure.
Maybe when we signed the agreement, it was not very common to get a one dissertation and with a jury in Japan and also in Mexico. But I think with nowadays, it's easy to do that. So I think that's the solution, or that's the path we need to talk and to make that modifications. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, Ramon, talk with us, because we are very eager to have only one dissertation, one defense, one language, which is English, of course, for both of us. And this can be easily obtained with partners, I think. Yeah.
Thanks, Fethi.
And for us, it's something very important. Yeah, indeed.
I'm starting to see questions popping up, but I'm gonna stick with you, Fethi, for a moment and just ask you about your challenges that you faced in these programs, whether it's around communications or other things. Please go ahead, and then I'll go to the other questions after.
So the main challenge for us is to explain to our partners the difference between the engineering degree and the regular master degree. We are part of the PSL University. We have both degrees, but I'm talking today about Chimie ParisTech and its own engineering degrees. And we have to explain the main difference, the philosophy and the vision that we have. So this is one point. Usually they understand this very quickly if we take enough time in order to explain that to them. So this is not very challenging now. We know how to do it, and we have the criteria and the topics and the details that will help them to understand the difference. The other challenge is the language. The engineering degree is taught in French. This is the rule here in France to have the degree of engineering. Now we are working on having classes in English, but not all of them are in English. So the students who are selected has to learn French, but it can be a plus for them to learn a different language that is used in the world, not as much as the English or the Spanish, but at least they will gain another language which is important for the culture, for even science, etc. And for instance, we are succeeding in having students from all the countries, from Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, China, Russia, etc., learning French in order to spend 2 years having full classes in French. So we have to explain this, but in final, students understand that and they succeed. And we are providing all the tools in order to help them to be fluent in French when they start their study with us. So the selection is performed 1 year in advance in order to allow them to have these French classes in order to improve their French. So this is the main challenge that we have when it comes to students who have to join us from foreign institutions. We are not facing problems with the fees and the financial support. We are lucky enough to have institutions who agree to not talk about the fees. We are withdrawing all the fees. So it's something that is not making troubles. And when it comes to send our students for the double degree, this is a different story because our students are not really willing to go abroad for longer than 1 or 2 semesters because they know that having only the French degree, they will get their job very easily without any severe complications. And we have to explain to them the plus, the input they will gain. For that, we are making now the international mobility compulsory for them. It's an obligation. If they don't spend at least 1 semester abroad, they will not get their degree. And doing that, we are trying to push them step by step to the foreign institution and to our partners in order to have the regular mobility, internship, and double degree. So this we have to work on it in order to make them going for double degree instead of only 1 semester for training. So this is the major challenge that we have when it comes to send our students for double degree.
Thanks, Feji. I can certainly relate to some of the things you've talked about there. I mean, here in Canada, generally speaking, we have a challenge with getting our students to go on study abroad experiences or to spend time outside of Canada. And the federal government in Canada has put some money incentives into that recently to help promote more study abroad, which is exciting, but it's been traditionally very difficult for us. The other challenge that I've seen quite a bit, and I just want to raise this as a general point, are when we're working with partners around the world and we're not sure that the motivations are always the same for doing this kind of partnership. You know, and we get outreach from partners in many places. We have a strong engineering program, for example. We're well known in environmental science. We have people reach out and want to partner on something on a joint degree or a double degree. And I think it's really important that we figure out what the motivation is. Yeah. No, it's not always the case that, you know, in Mexico or maybe in France, the motivation is maybe to learn other ways of studying and other ways of doing research and intercultural skills and making sure that students become global citizens. But there may be a difference, you know, in terms of the partner vision. We've had partners reach out and we get fairly far down the path of discussing a potential joint program or double degree program, and we realize that they're motivated by having more of those programs because it improves their ranking situation in their home country, or maybe it helps them recruit more students into their university because they can be shown to have more international tie-ups, more international partnerships. So just quickly, just off the cuff there, that's one point that I have always made to people looking at these partnerships is be a little bit wary or be very careful to investigate into the motivations of the partner in the beginning. We are getting towards the end, and I know we've talked about sort of the positives here and what's good about this. I did want to go to a question here quickly because someone has a very good one that I would like to know how you deal, and I assume this is with Mexico, but how do you deal with your local legislation especially on the diploma or degree expedition? Do you give one certificate per country, or one for both countries with the logo of both universities? I know for my institution, we don't do a single logo, a double logo on one degree. It would be two separate degrees. So therefore the double degree in that way. How about for you, Fethi?
It is the same. So we are providing, we are giving our degree, and the partner is giving its own degree. And for the engineering degree, we have to add a kind of addendum to explain what specialization or classes or things that the students performed during the 3 years. And then we specify in this addendum that the students were part of the double degree program, etc., etc. But we are providing only one diploma.
Ramon, being in Mexico, maybe you can speak to the Mexican situation on dual degrees not being allowed and how that works.
Yes, exactly. It's just the same. In Mexico, the double degree, dual diplomas with both logos in one diploma is not allowed. So each university needs to expect their own diploma. So the student gets at the end two separate diplomas with no legend of any of them, mentioning that is in a double degree program. That's the situation in Mexico.
Yeah, and there are examples internationally of, for example, American and Chinese universities running what they call a dual degree program, where they have one degree that's got both logos on it. We don't tend to do that in Canada, and certainly not at my institution, but we do it. There's lots of universities in Canada that do it within the institution. But they don't, they offer a dual degree within one university, but not with a partner that way. I just wanted to check on the question and answer area, because I feel like we're moving into that. We're coming to the end of our time very quickly here. I apologize for running out, but we've covered some of the challenges. I think if we do have a little time here and people want to ask more questions at all, I would encourage that. I'm just getting a note here that we can use a few more minutes if we'd like, and that's great. If people are able to stay on, that would be wonderful. I certainly can for a few minutes. I want to just, as we look post-pandemic, and obviously one of the big challenges we've seen in all of this is the pandemic, right? If we talk about big picture challenges, whether it's communicating with the partner or explaining to people how double degrees work and the benefits and the agreements, and all of you have issues around legal and things like that, I'm sure. But if we look big picture, the pandemic has really thrown us for a loop. We've tried to do stuff virtually, I think, in a lot of cases. I know my university has, but there are a lot of learnings from the pandemic, I think. And when we look about sort of going forward, prospects and opportunities in this space of double degrees, I'm really curious to hear a little bit more from Fethi and Ramon about where you see opportunities, beyond the challenges that we've discussed. What do you see that's coming down the pipeline that we can make people aware of in terms of opportunities that are out there? Fethi?
So the challenges linked to the pandemic. Hopefully in France, the government was extremely helpful, and they allowed the students to get their visa for all kinds of countries, and this works extremely well. So I think that France became more attractive thanks to the help of the government that had policy kind of open bar. You can come if you have acceptance letter from one university. You can come to France with or without vaccination, etc., etc., etc. And this makes France very more attractive than before. And we were very successful in having all our selected students on time now starting their university system. This is one positive thing. The negative point that we lost the opportunity of having communication in vivo on site with our partners. And due to that, we lost maybe the opportunity of having good students and good communication to at least reach more students than what we did, for instance. So the lack of communication because the lack of visits and the lack of presential discussion, etc. So this is the main challenge, and I hope that during the next months and years, we will come back to our conventional communication, visits and discussion on site in order really to maintain the relation between the partners. Nothing is better than having a face-to-face and in vivo discussion with our partners. So these are the two main points related to the pandemic. And we don't really, I have to say that we are not facing severe difficulties with our partners when it comes to finalize agreements, etc. We offer the flexibility in order to make the process successful. And this is very important for us. We have to make it easy for the students. And as soon as the student is accepted in the partner university, it's their students. We don't have to interfere with anything. And we trust completely the partners in order to deal with the students as their own students, and we don't have to interfere. And this is the main rule that we are trying to follow to make it flexible. I don't know if this answers your question, but this is my reflection.
Thanks, Fethi. Thank you. When I was thinking about opportunities and prospects, those are definitely, you know, some of the things I had in mind. I without consulting you guys, I put down a couple of things just as general opportunities and prospects. I mean, on the next slide there, internationalization in general. I mean, we continue to look for different ways to get our students excited about going out. And so, you know, big picture, I think generally internationalizing our student body and the world is you know a big opportunity for us through these double degrees. For me too, this is also a way around what I would call recruitment channel diversification. So we work with agents and we work with schools and we work with partners to send transfer students and things like that. But this is another way that we can to get students from some unique countries. You know, maybe we don't have a single student from Spain, but because we started this double degree in Madrid, you know, now we have students coming from that country, and we add another country to the list, and it builds the diversity for our institution and you know, essentially provides another recruitment channel. Maybe not a revenue generating one per se, but that's okay. It's not just about the money for us. So I'm not sure your thoughts on that, Ramon, if you think about other opportunities, prospects, where you see this going.
Yeah, well, the same as Fedi. I think the more important thing we learned was the flexibility. So the mobility in our university was stopped, like in the most universities around the world. So we need to find the channels to keep working on these double degree programs or in the internationalization of the students. And yeah, some students that were supposed to go abroad are taking classes and or from internet. So that's what we learn. We'd like to the mobility start the face-to-face start soon, but if it's not possible, we are trying to solve it with flexibility. That's it.
Yeah, and I think back to
when it comes to internationalization, we are not willing to work with agencies in order to enrich this. We are part of a network which is called ParisTech. We are Chimie ParisTech, and the ParisTech network is a network of 7 graduate schools in engineering in Paris. So working together allow us to be more visible and to have a kind of a power in order to discuss with partners, etc. And what we have done, for example, is to open an office in China in order to have someone in China to deal with the Chinese university. We had one in Brazil for the Brazilian university. We have one in Siberia for the Siberian universities. So this is the way how we are mutualizing our efforts by having 7-10 schools all together and having the power to open a small office in one region in Latin America or Asia or China or Russia in order to be effectively present on site. I don't believe that we have to give this to agencies that have to work on that. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Fethi. Yeah, Ramon? Sorry, did you have a comment on that or no?
Sorry, I can hear the question. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just thought you were going to say something. So I just wanted to agree with Fethi. And my university has staff on the ground in China and India, Mexico for the Latin America market, and also in Southeast Asia. And they do recruitment, but a lot of their work is on partnership management as well. And it's been very, very helpful for us to have a local person to manage sometimes the conversation and the relationship there. So I do have another question here. Could you give? Right. So just a thought that maybe we could give advice to students who would like to do the double degree program to sort of handle some of the challenges that we talked about before. We are hopeful that we'll get out of the pandemic and be able to travel again, obviously. I think some of the challenges that we've talked about are very institutionally biased in this, where we've talked about sort of challenges that institutions and administrators have in running these programs. The question, I think, is a little bit more focused on challenges that students have, and sort of explaining to them how to maybe go about this. My one bit of advice was start early and do your research early as you even before you enter the institution. Start to look at what international opportunities are available. I know that some students are choosing my institution because of the international opportunities that are available. Start early in that process would be one bit of advice, and make sure you advocate for yourself and make sure that you find out as much information early on as you can. Fethi, maybe you have some thoughts?
No, I fully agree with you. Start very soon in order to know if you are interested in that, and work on that in order to make the good choice, the best one. And yes, you can select your university using the criteria of having or not international network and opportunities for that, if you are willing to have that kind of experience. But start very early, and don't hesitate to have a very deep information on the institution. It's very important to know exactly where you are going or willing to apply. This is very important, and that's all. And discuss with your professors and with your international bureau and with us. So it's you have to talk and to discuss and to get the information from all the channels in order to make the right choice. the program has to be successful. We don't want to have someone who will fail, because this is not acceptable for us. This is not acceptable because someone had to fail because lack of information and so on. So it has to be successful. And we are here in order to help you to make it successful.
Yeah, and I think that always requires a very tight collaboration between the faculties or the departments that are, dealing with the students, and then the international office or the office that is in charge of the outbound mobility and inbound mobility opportunities. So I wanted to leave a little bit of time for questions. I realize that we're way over time now. We've lost a few participants, but I see many people still on, and I'm hoping that we have more questions coming in. We've had a couple, which we've addressed, but I don't know if there are more questions maybe. I know this was live streamed on Facebook as well, Facebook Live. Are there any other questions coming in at this point on the live chat or anything? Maybe not. I'm just getting a message that we don't seem to see any more questions at this point. I'll just make one last call then before we wrap up. I'll ask if there's any other questions or comments that people wanted to make. I know for me personally, I really enjoy the opportunity to sort of think some of this through as I prepared for this. If anyone has any interest in reaching out to me directly, I'm just going to put my email address in the chat box here. And if anyone wants to chat about what we do at Lakehead or whatever, I'll do that. And I know Feti and Ramon and also Mario, who wasn't able to attend, I think would be open to receiving outreach as well.
Yeah, I will be visiting, I hope, Guanajuato in November. So this will be the opportunity to answer the questions directly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. If there's no further questions, I think I'll take the opportunity then to thank you again, panelists, for being part of this. And thanks very much to Guanajuato, to Virginie, and to Daniela, who supported so wonderfully. I'll pass it over to you guys then. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Goodbye.